I believe we're live. 90% sure. Yes, we are live. Hello, bitches. I've taken over the stream. I've immediately gone off script. I am now the Lord of D&D. Baroth is never going to get hit ever again. And now I'm immediately going to go back to the script that Izzy lovingly prepared for me. Hey all. This week I'll be standing in for our DM Axel to deliver this recap of our last game of Icewind Dale. This will help you get caught up with our next game. I'm not going to do that every time. This will help you get all caught up with our next game right here on our Twitch channel tomorrow at 6:30 PM BST. So without further ado, where we last left off, Lucius and the Lightbringers had 3 days to wait for the Council of Speakers to convene, and no immediate quests to complete. The party decided to start by spending some of their well-earned cash on something Lucius had wanted for a very long time. Axe Beaks! A day at the stable ensued, with every party member eventually finding a mount that suited them and learning the basics of how to ride them. On their second day, they headed back to the Cauldron Caves to see if they'd missed anything of interest. Once there, they found a cavern of giant-sized cave murals depicting frost giants coming to this place and sacrificing themselves in the hot spring. Further in, they found an abandoned hidden camp where a dwarf traveller had left his notes on the mysteries of this place, including mention of mysterious singing, a smell of cooking, and his suspicion that he was not there alone. Which would have been more creepy to the party if they hadn't already counted both harpies and the hag and killed them. In the final cave, the party found a hungry direwolf, but managed to deter it long enough to run away between Lucius's hex and Oster's command of sit. Back in Easthaven, the players show their uncanny ability to predict the future of the campaign as they wondered around what had happened to their friends the kobolds, and encountered a small, handwritten sign by a door that read, "Person and Human Attorneys at Law." The party reconnected with the world's tallest human and the other kobolds before taking them out for a soup lunch. In the afternoon, Baroth went to the barracks and used his channel divinity to help make weapons for the soldiers of Easthaven. Tonnock worked on their maps, and Oster and Lucius discussed Lucius's dead sister Myrtle, and her plea that he find what he left behind and go back for her. Oster cast augury to find if Myrtle might be found at or in the sea of moving ice, and was met with a resounding yes. And then, the day of the Council of Speakers dawned. The party arrived early and were briefed on how the proceedings would go by Daneth, the Speaker of Easthaven. Soon familiar and unfamiliar figures began to arrive, including their old adversary Maxildenar of Targos, and the newly elected speaker for Tourmaline, Gillian Stoutbridge, quickly revealed to be a firm ally of Maxildenar. The party took some small time before the proceedings began to talk to the speakers they knew, Baroth to Cranach of Caer-Dineval, and Oster to Dor Bulgruff of Bremen. Tonnock approached a speaker the group hadn't met yet, Devessa of Brinchander, the head speaker of 10 towns. She seemed cold but firm and reasonable, and although Oster was worried about how well Dolbrulgruff of Bremen spoke of Maxildenar, the party went into the meeting with some hope. The party explained simply the situation, that an army of Duergar sought to take 10 towns by force and slaughter the citizens with an immense Shardolin dragon, to have the land for themselves above ground and far away from the Underdark. After presenting their case to the gathered speakers, the party answered questions, heard counter-arguments. Maxildenar in particular attempted to sow distrust of the Lightbringers, citing their gift of the Cauldron of Plenty to Easthaven alone, and the fact that they had not yet aided Dugan's Hole. Words got heated as Oster rebutted him, and the meeting was called to order. Finally, Lucius summed up the situation thus. If someone you love was threatened, your child, perhaps, would you not do anything to protect them? Would you not spare any expense, take any precaution to prevent harm from coming to them? That is what we ask you. That is why we ask you to defend 10 towns against these Duergar, for love of its citizens. A break was called before the vote, and Maxildenar immediately took aside the Speaker of Bremen for a word, as his ally Stoutbridge took aside Cranach of Caer-Dineval. Devessa of Brinchander stood aside Captain Scath of Targos, and the party separated. Oster to listen in on Duvessa and Scath, Baroth to make sure Dorbolgraf wasn't being threatened by Maxildanar, and Tonach to attempt to prevent Stoutbridge from swaying Cranach. Duvessa confronts Scath quietly about the persistent fear-mongering of Sefik Caltro, the dead assassin, and about rumours that people can pay to keep their names out of the lottery for sacrifice. Scath deflects about Caltro and says only that people in Targos now have to pay to put their names in the lottery. Duvessa calls him a piece of shit as diplomatically as possible and returns to the table. Meanwhile, Baroth attempted to listen at the door to Maxildanar and Dorbolgraf's conversation, but was found quickly. And as he so often does, Baroth went in with bluntness, rude, and asked Maxildanar if he was bribing Dorbolgraf, and asking Dorbolgraf if he felt safe. The old dwarf was clearly frightened, but with a high insight roll, Baroth realised he was scared of both Maxildanar and Baroth himself. Following Tonach and Stoutbridge, following Cranach and Following Cranach and Stoutbridge, Tonach took an even blunter approach. She interrupted the conversation head-on, stating simply that they were trying to prevent Stoutbridge from swaying Cranach's vote. Stoutbridge, exasperated, left, but Cranach was angry with Tonach. What they were doing, if also not trying to affect his vote. The break ended with Lucius and the Lightbringers significantly less sure of a positive outcome for their cause, and the speakers were called to vote. Going in reverse alphabetical order, the speakers voted on preparing the towns for battle. 4 ayes and 5 nays, with Dorbolgraf of Bremen casting the final vote against, and perhaps sealing the fate of the whole of 10 towns. As Maxildanar smirched and the council began to break up, the Lightbringers attempted to salvage the situation. Both Tonach and Baroth immediately sought confirmation that the towns that voted aye would begin what defensive preparations they would, and Oster went to speak with Dorbolgraf, who looked utterly crestfallen. The old dwarf confessed to Oster that he'd perhaps just made the worst decision of his life, as the satyr cleric attempted to comfort him that they bore no ill will for said decision. The game ended with Daneth of Easthaven beseeching the party to go into the mountains, find Sunblight, and put an end to the Duragar threat, for the good of Easthaven, 10 towns, and all of Icewind Dale. And we'll pick up there tomorrow night, May 25th, right back here on Twitch at 6:30 p.m. BST. See you there.